you know how to manage your time? Let me show you how to do it. Hey there, Enterprisers, what's good? It's Jason Lago here again. And in this video, I want to talk to you about time management hacks to end them all. That's right, we're talking about time management hacks to end them all, okay? And I don't mean that I have all the answers. Clearly I don't. But if you've been in business for any amount of time and just really life in general, you know the importance of time management and really having some skills and techniques and hacks and a methodology about how you manage your time is definitely essential to just overall productivity and success, but especially in business. With that said, you can probably see the amount of hacks and lessons in how to manage your time. They really come as a dime a dozen, right? There's so much information out there, so many different ways to do it, and I think that they're all valid, to be fair. But what I'm going to share with you today are 3 time management hacks that are kind of linear in nature, and I believe that these 3 hacks can apply to everything, and they really are 3 time management hacks to end them all. In other words, if you live by these 3 and let these 3 govern your time management, then any other technique that you throw in will only be helpful, but these are the 3 main things that will help you stay on track, stay on task, and do more with your time management. Let's go ahead and get started. Number 1, if it's not scheduled, it won't happen. If it's not scheduled, it won't happen, okay? Speaks for itself, doesn't it? Now you can kind of see what I mean when I say these are 3 hacks to govern your mindset on time management, and you can see why these are 3 hacks that will rule them all and to end them all, right? Because at the end of the day, if it's not scheduled, it won't happen. So the first and foremost thing to do in terms of time management is to schedule everything, okay? I recommend that you schedule every last thing. I'm talking about your work, your business, your menial tasks, your mid tasks, your long range tasks. Go ahead and schedule them, all right? In other words, you want to designate a specific day and even a time frame, all right? Maybe even a time zone, right? Certain hours of the day. You know, at the very least though, have an idea of what day, what month, and where these things are going to take place or need to be done, okay? Now, a lot of people are not necessarily big on scheduling personal life and business life, but I'm telling you what, having something printed somewhere or scheduled somewhere and knowing that certain things are going to be allotted to it is only going to be helpful to you. So I know some people who even schedule things in their personal life, right? Things like time with their children or family time. And again, I'm not saying that you are supposed to neglect your family or keep it to just those times, but when you know that you have something scheduled, I believe that there is a psychological and mental happening that takes place that really acknowledges that it's supposed to happen this way. And anything outside of that kind of breaks the structure. Not to say that you have to be a slave to it, but again, if it's structured and it's scheduled, that's how you can make sure it's going to happen. A lot of people have the best intentions about getting these tasks done that will help them move forward in their business. You know, creating their sales funnel, creating their sales copy, following up with prospects, following up with clients. If it's not scheduled, it's not going to happen. You never want to leave it, especially in business. You never want to leave it to where I will get to it when I can. That's the wrong mentality. Schedule it and make sure that it happens. If it's not scheduled, it won't happen. Number 2, if it's not on the calendar, it's not scheduled. If it's not on the calendar, it's not scheduled. You can see now how I'm having fun with it and why I say that these are basically linear methods, all right? Linear techniques, linear hacks, because they kind of build off of the previous one. So if the first one is if it's not scheduled, it's not going to happen. Number 2 is if it's not on the calendar, then it's not scheduled, okay? Now again, you might think that these are rudimentary things, but the reality is I know so many entrepreneurs and so many people for that matter who do not live by their schedule, and they can't tell you that and they can't prove that because it's not on their calendar somewhere, okay? The calendar is one of the most important tools, definitely one of the greatest tools ever in terms of keeping a schedule. That's what it was created for, all right? I think that a lot of people kind of got away from calendar using simply because when you think of a calendar, for most people, like in my case, you know, you think of this big old thing that was on the wall in school or at home, all right? And that's where people would physically handwrite things in with their pens in order to to put important dates and happenings on there. But the reality is we no longer live in a day and time where the calendar is an obscure, large piece of inconvenience on a wall somewhere, all right? You only have to look as far as your cell phone or something else, another device. There's so many different apps out there, and you definitely have a calendar in your hands that you can actively use. So keep it to just that, right? Use your calendar, all right? Calendars are so fun and easy to use now, and they come with a whole lot more capabilities than they have before where you're writing it on paper. You can color code things, you can designate things, you can invite people and put pictures and resources and addresses and links and so many different things that will help you. Right? If you're not using your calendar, all right, especially in this day and time, in the year 2022 and beyond, I don't know what else to tell you. Use your calendar, because if it's not on your calendar, it's not scheduled. Number 3, and finally, if it's not shared, it's not on your calendar. Again, following with the linear sense. If it's not shared, then it's not on your calendar, okay? So let's follow the linear process here. Number 1, if it's not scheduled, it won't happen, which means you have to schedule it. Number 2 is if it's not on the calendar, it's not scheduled, so you gotta put it on the calendar. And number 3, and finally, in order to make sure that it's on the calendar, you have to share it with somebody, okay? I think that this is tremendous, and it's a tip that very few people talk about. You have to share it with somebody. If you share your calendar, now what you are doing is introducing the also powerful dynamic of accountability, okay? Now, I'm not suggesting that just anyone should have access to your calendar. I definitely don't believe that either. Not everyone should be able to access your calendar and know exactly what you're doing and where you're doing. But the reality is, in this day and time, you probably have someone in your life or a couple someones where the accountability is definitely helpful, but it's beneficial for them to know where you are and what you're doing because it might impact them. So for instance, for me, everything's on my calendar, and there's a couple people that I will always share these things with. A lot of the times it's the person who provides to be my admin or my assistant, okay? Also, in certain tasks, there are people where it would matter to. So for instance, on my staff, my video editor or something like that. On top of that, just general things that I like to schedule on my calendar alone, I will always make sure to invite my wife and vice versa. My wife and I share, an email together, and so we also share a calendar, and the calendar that I have personally, the calendar that she has personally, we make sure that we invite each other, and that way, we're able to know exactly where we are and what we're doing. It also just helps with overall production, right? I mean, and overall just success in our life in general. So for instance, if our kids have a birthday party that they're supposed to be, or a game or a ball practice, it just makes sense that we're on the same page, okay? So, and if you want to become more productive, believe me, the calendar is very, very important, all right? But one thing that you will find is that it's very easy for you to put stuff on the calendar and then to make sure that you step away from it and then don't let it talk to you. Don't let it remind you, right? You can put it on the calendar and schedule it, but the calendar, much like an alarm clock, is something that you can snooze and that you can neglect and kind of get away from, all right? One way to avoid that is to share your calendar with somebody. If it's not shared, it's not on the calendar. There you have it, my friends. These are 3 time management hacks to end them all. And I trust that this was helpful to you. Had a lot of fun putting this together, but in its simplicity, I really think that these things are definitely some methodologies that can help you in terms of just time management, productivity, and so on. I hope that you take these things and run with it. Now, let me encourage you to give me a like, a comment, a share, but most importantly, you know what to do. Subscribe. Also hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss out on any more hot new content that I got coming down the pipe just for you. On top of that, if you haven't had a chance yet to download the Digital Freedom Shortcut, make sure you click on the link in the description below. It's the first one there, and it's my free gift to you. It's my ebook that shows you exactly what I did to leave the corporate grind and live the ultimate laptop lifestyle like I'm doing now. Can't wait to show you how to do the exact same thing. So click on the link and enjoy that. I trust that it's helpful to you and a blessing. All right, my friends, I'm out of here. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.